Hello and welcome back to Remars here at Las Vegas.
I heard you just say we'll be right back, and we are.
I literally am right back, yes. I had a quick change. So we thought we'd finish up the day. I suppose we should probably introduce ourselves first. So I'm Steve Roberts, developer advocate for .NET and PowerShell, and you are?
I'm A.M. Grabelli. I'm a solution architect and unfortunate victim of Steve here today for his demo. He's pulled me along. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very honored to be here with you.
You are my tormentor in chief. So
very honored to be with you.
Right. So we thought we'd end the day with a bit of fun. Well, I say fun, but one of the key things about part of the Remars conference is automation. Right?
Yeah.
And we've been talking about services today, and some viewers might be wondering, how can I get started working with services from code? Right. So we're going to go through some code for a real-world scenario that I actually use at home.
Okay.
So outside of work, I'm a photographer, and I submit photos to stock libraries, etc., and they have to be tagged. Right. And so I have a photo of a bridge, a landscape, and tags a bridge, landscape. It's quite dull. I'm quite lazy. Right? So I've been looking for automation to do this for me.
I do know that about
right?
you, Steve.
You do know that about me. So what I'm looking for is I will do the creative tagging, like the emotion in the image, but the basic tagging of like these set of objects, frankly, I'm not really that interested in doing myself.
Okay.
Right? So I hand that off to a service. And what a lot of people, I think some people don't realize is that when we think of calling service APIs, we're thinking about deploying the code to the cloud and then using the service.
Yeah.
But we can equally use a service from our own machines.
True.
Right? So we vend a number of SDKs in different languages, C#, Java, Python.
So interesting you led with C#.
Well, of course I would lead with C#. It's preeminent, and the first SDK we ever shipped publicly. But anyway, I digress. So we thought we would go through a simple little program. It's actually a translation of a PowerShell script that I use at home to do this work into using our .NET SDK.
Okay.
To show how you can use the SDKs from AWS to communicate with services. And they do all the heavy lifting of communicating with the HTTP endpoints, worrying about whether we need to pass JSON or XML payloads, where do we pass query parameters, etc. You just use natural language objects.
I love it. You didn't give the name to this segment. We branded this before we started.
I did not, but we're gonna get there. It's using AI services.
No.
Our brand.
Amster and the Brit.
Oh, Amster and the Brit.
Code
That's
Corner.
True. Code Corner. That's right. Yes. Not Condiment Corner.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No. This is Amster and the Brit's Code Corner.
Code Corner. All right.
You'll get this tomorrow too.
All right. So, shall we look at some code?
Yeah. Let's look at the code.
All right.
I'm driving today.
Okay. You're driving.
I'm such a control freak.
You're driving. All right. So we have a simple code here that's, as I say, it's a translation of a PowerShell script I use at home that processes a bunch of images. So I get in from a photography shoot, I download the images, I select the ones I'm interested in, and then I run this script while I go and have dinner to go and get the image tags, the basic image tags for an image, and download them. So a bunch of images here that we're going to go and get tags for. And I will then use those tags and import them into my image cataloging system so that I don't have to worry about doing all this grungy tagging. Isn't that cute?
I love it.
So this is a .NET application. All right?
Okay.
So we get started with an SDK by using a NuGet package. So if you're familiar with TypeScript or JavaScript, you have the NPM registry.
Right.
NuGet is kind of the equivalent for .NET, right? So we download a package into our project. So you open up the project file, we can show the NuGet packages we're using.
I do have to mention, you've got quite an assortment of photos here,
I did a random selection.
You ever been to a condiment bar?
Oh,
you go to a condiment bar and there's just condiments everywhere, right? Like that's kind of what this collection of images reminds me of. You got so many here.
Yep.
It's just an abundance of condiments.
It is an abundance of condiments, yes.
I love it. All right, so we're going to open up the CS proj
This
file.
is a .NET project file, right?
Yes.
And it's very simple. There's not much in it.
No.
If you look, there's a couple of package references here called AWS SDK.Rekognition and AWS SDK.S3. Those are the two services we're going to use.
Okay.
Right? So these are NuGet packages that we vend as SDKs. And all the different SDKs vend packages in whatever respective package systems are used. Right?
Right.
So you can get started. So let's go back into the program code. And the first thing that we do is, having added the packages, add namespaces, right?
It's like I could read your mind.
It's like you could read my mind.
I had that open for you. You see that?
Wow.
You're
very efficient, sir. Very efficient.
Thank you.
So you can see that we've got a handful of namespaces for S3.
Yes.
We've got a handful there for Rekognition. All right?
Yep.
So the way that the SDKs work is they translate the service models that represent the APIs into classes and types pertaining to that particular language.
Right, they take the JSON responses, typically JSON responses.
Well, they will do that later on when you call it.
Yeah,
to start with,
see what
right?
you're saying.
We've got a set of classes. So
you're saying the input class.
The input classes. So we have like a service client that is the Amazon S3 service client, the Rekognition service client, and so on. And on those clients are exposed the operations that map to the API.
Got it.
Then we have a series of model classes that are the request and response types. Okay. So, but before we can get started, we need some credentials, right? So we're going to run this locally.
Yep.
So if we expand that, now this is something you would only do locally on your machine. If you deploy to the cloud, you don't put credentials in your code. We're not doing that here. We're using a credential profile, so we're safe, right? We don't want credentials in this code.
Yeah.
Because if we ever checked it into GitHub and then forgot about it or some other public repo, we got a leak, right? So we use credential profiles that are stored elsewhere on our machine, and we just reference them in the SDK client.
Yeah, mine's actually a role.
Use a role, right? Yeah. So when we would deploy, we would use a role and get the SDKs all the SDKs would get credentials from the role automatically. You don't have to worry about this. Right. This is just specific to our local debug. Next, we set up the service client. So you can see we're instantiating a client for S3 in the US West 2 region, because that's where we're located.
Yes.
All right. And then a transfer utility. This is a higher level utility class inside the S3 package for .NET that lets us upload entire folders, files. It handles all of the breaking large files apart into multiple parts.
Retries.
It handles the retries for us, etc. Right? So this is a really useful utility to get started with. And not all SDKs have this utility. I think Java and .NET do. I'm not too sure about the others, but this is a useful one to use. And then we instantiate a Rekognition client. Right? It's all fairly familiar pattern, very similar. Next, we're going to get the source images from the system that you were just flipping through. This is nothing to do with AWS. This is just what data are we going to operate on.
Those were those images that we were looking at,
Those are the images that are sitting in there, right?
What do we get? Oh, look at that.
It's a Peter Cottontail.
That is
there
a Peter Cottontail. Look at that. A little rabbit.
Yeah.
You took all these pictures, didn't you?
I did, but that's beside the point.
All right.
All right. Okay, so back in the code then. So the way I do this at home in PowerShell is that I actually use a PowerShell commandlet to upload all of the images in one go.
Okay.
Okay. We could do that here with the transfer util, but instead I decided to upload them one by one. And as each image is uploaded, we then go and get the tags, and then we download the tags into a local file alongside the image.
That's your for each block.
That's my for each block, right? Because that's when I'm going to go and load in those tags from the text files and then into my cataloging system. Okay? That's a separate piece of automation we're not going to show. So to do that, we need a bucket in S3, a storage bucket, right?
Yes.
So there you can see us creating, we're calling a method called putBucketAsync. It's an async. This is a .NET Core program, .NET 6 program. So it's an asynchronous call.
Yes.
We give it a bucket name. We make it unique. Create a temporary bucket. Okay? And then we just loop through the image files. So let's go and take a look at the process image async.
I don't want to throw you off too much. Maybe quick, and very hard to do a quick explanation of async versus sync.
Well, a synchronous call is the code will stop until the response comes back.
Right.
Okay? Now, in .NET Core or .NET 6, all calls that invoke some kind of I/O transition are asynchronous by default.
Right.
Right. So you have to do this async await pattern.
Yeah. Blocking, non-blocking calls.
Blocking,
right?
non-blocking. Yeah.
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 Cool. All right. So we've got our for each, and I see that you've wrapped it into
I've wrapped into a method.
A method. Yeah.
So let's just jump down to the method, and we can walk through
function.
the code.
How mad would you be at me?
No, I'd be good. We have functions.
Okay.
We have functions too. All right. So down in the process image async, what you can see us doing now is we're going to start calling the actual SDK, the service APIs. Okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to use the transfer utility there to upload a file. Now the beauty of this upload here is that it doesn't matter what size the file is. The SDK will take a look at it and go, hey, it's less than 5 meg. I can just do a simple put object call to S3.
Okay.
If it's larger than that, it will break it up into 5 megabyte or greater chunks. And it will initiate what's called a multi-part upload. So I'm ultimately not having to worry about any of that grunge code. Happens for me.
Yeah.
Right? Using the transfer util.
Grunge code.
Grunge code.
Like Kurt Cobain code or Eddie Vedder code. Is that what grunge code is?
That would be it. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see I put the PowerShell there that I would use at home. Next, we're going to call Rekognition, right? And you can see that what we're doing here is we're calling the API detect labels, which is in async form. We pass in a request object that has the parameters for the call.
Those are those input objects you were describing
input parameter, right? So this is a model object that says this is modeling the detect labels request parameters. And we just point at the image in S3,
Right.
We set up some parameters for maximum labels we want return, min confidence. These all map to the actual service API. This is nothing to do with the .NET SDK.
What's interesting too is like API. Some of these object properties will get translated to URL, like part of a URL string.
Yes, they will.
Some might be translated to a JSON object going into the request. But you don't have to worry about that.
Or even XML. So as
an
SDK user, you don't care.
No, doesn't matter.
You just code in the types that you are comfortable using.
I love it.
With the SDK. All right. And then finally we go and we get the labels back and we retrieve them back and we just write them to a text file on the local system.
Oh, okay.
Really, really simple. So we could run this now.
Shall we?
Shall we?
Okay.
And let's go and see what tags we get back.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear. What did you
I'm in the wrong folder.
You're in the wrong folder. That's good.
That's an easy one to fix.
Nice and easy. All right, 20 images.
Okay. I'm really curious what it's going to say about our Peter Cottontail friend.
I would be curious about Peter Cottontail too. Yeah. So this is now just uploading each image. As it's doing each one, we're getting text. In fact, if you can, I don't know if you can do this from here, but if you expand the File Explorer view in VS Code, we can actually see those tag files coming back.
Yeah, they're coming in.
There they are. All right, so one by one, we're just doing this. Now, obviously, if this was, I wanted the utmost efficiency here, I would probably be doing this
in parallel.
Upload everything and doing it in parallel, but it's a simple console demo just to show using the SDKs to call AWS services from some sort of automation aspect. All right?
Makes sense to me. Let's see, I think I remember ended in 27. We've got the tags back.
All right, what do we got?
A hare.
A hare.
It also called it a rodent. It seems,
it has large teeth. So
that's a little mean.
That is a little mean, yeah.
Not a rodent.
But there we go. So
but it is a hare.
This is a hare, kind of. But yeah, so this is, calling services from code running on a local machine, not code that's deployed into the cloud. This could be.
Okay.
If I, for example, I could make this into a Lambda function, right? And then I could upload the image files to S3 and then have the Lambda function called automatically.
Yes.
To process
on a cron job, perhaps, or
on a cron job. Yeah.
You could build your own API too with API Gateway.
You could put an API on API Gateway, yeah.
And every time you uploaded to your local computer a bunch of your images that you've just taken from your camera, it could kick off. Or
it'd be automated.
Maybe you build a client that uploads to S3 directly, and then you could trigger that Lambda function off the S3 event too.
Well, actually, interesting. The next step of my automation in this is as I ingest the images into my cataloging system, is to actually have it called directly out. So I don't have that intermediate step of outputting the images to a folder and then running this script at home. That's the next step of my automation.
Interesting.
But
very interesting.
This, for now, is what I've got started. And this saves me so much time because I just ingest these text files in, apply the tags, and then I can worry about the creative tagging, the thing that people are more interested in.
This one's a cat, right?
That is not a cat.
Not a cat.
That would take your cat.
That's not a cat? Oh, it's an owl. Rekognition taught me. I thought that was a cat. Looked like a cat. Kind of looks like my cat.
And then I have one more tip for you.
Tell me.
In the code. So if you go back to the program CS file.
You got it.
If you scroll back up to the resource cleanup. So we created that temporary bucket, right?
Yes.
I don't want it anymore, so I'm going to delete it. But you can't delete an S3 bucket unless you delete all the objects
first.
Yeah,
it's got to be empty.
Right? Well, the .NET SDK has a very handy utility that can delete including it deletes all the objects for you. Now, I do not recommend you run this on against a production bucket.
No,
please do not do that or say that Steve told you to do that. But for your own temporary buckets, this is a handy little trick to have.
Yeah, that's a nice little utility method there. You don't have to figure out what objects are there. It'll figure out for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, a really simple program, but making use of AWS AI services running in the cloud from a local machine to actually achieve some automation that saves me a lot of time.
All right.
And just to reiterate, you could have done this with any of our language SDKs.
True. Yes.
Right? So,
very true.
JavaScript, TypeScript,
Golang,
Go,
Python.
Ruby, Python.
Yeah.
I've lost count at this point. C++. Good old C++ is
another abundance of condiments there.
Another abundance of condiments.
Yeah.
SDKs, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Like your condiments bar, right?
Yeah,
like whatever language you want, you pick.
You pick.
I want mustard, I want relish.
Yeah, today I feel like, I don't know, horseradish.
Horseradish?
So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
We got 30 seconds left.
Seconds.
You want to talk about tomorrow?
Yeah, we will be back at 11 a.m. tomorrow in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Again, streaming live direct from the show. Thanks you all so much for joining us today. Really great. being here and being able to live stream out to you.
Yeah, join us tomorrow. You'll get another Amster and Brit Code Corner,
We are having another Code Corner tomorrow, yes.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
But come back tomorrow, and we'll see you then, 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Las Vegas time, whatever that is.
Pacific.
All right. Bye all.